All right, here we are on September 1st, 2019 at the Gill House out in the desert where we've been coming here for, 20 years of pool activities and fun. And we put together a little list to ask Grandpa some questions. And we got Jade and Spencer who are going to be asking some questions. There's Jade, there's Spencer, and there's Grandpa. So we got a little list prepared. I think Spencer has the very first question on the list. Go ahead, Spencer.
Hey, Grandpa, what are some of your favorite memories when you were a child?
Well, Christmas was always fun, and you know, our neighborhood, we always enjoyed our neighborhood too. It was a fun neighborhood, a lot of good friends, and that's probably most of what I remember. I mean, there was just lots of good memories and good fun times, and we had them.
How long did your Christmases last? Were they like a week, 4 or 5 days? Or?
We tried to make them a year, but they only lasted, typically probably 3 or 4 days. We had Christmas Eve, which was our special present opening time, and then Christmas Day when we did the big time dinner and all that kind of stuff. And different relatives were there for those, different occasions.
So who might come over for Christmas?
Well, my uncles, Uncle Bob, we used to go up to Apple Valley sometimes, and my uncle George.
Bob George too? No, Craig.
Craig. No. Phil Gill.
Oh.
Up in Glendale. So we would kind of switch off with those people, and that was pretty much it.
Switch off, I mean, like switching going to the houses, or was it always at your house?
It was typically, Christmas Eve was typically at our house, and Christmas Day could have been swapped around between Glendale and Apple Valley and our house, so it was never the same.
All right. What do you remember about your dad and your mom?
Well, I remember nothing, absolutely nothing about my dad. He died when I was 1.5, so I never knew him. Don't remember a thing about him. And my mom, I remember, she was a hard-working woman. She taught school and took care of her mother. And so she was just a real hard worker, really nice lady, very, very kind, very considerate, very thoughtful. So she was just a wonderful, wonderful person.
And so, if I remember correctly, after your dad passed, she went and got a job as a teacher right away again. Was that pretty quick?
Yes. Well, she had gone from North Dakota to Anchorage, Alaska, and actually Juneau, Alaska, to teach, right out of high school. And so she was doing that. And then when she married my dad, who was, working up there in the Alaska territories, they moved down together, and she wasn't working then, but then he died very shortly thereafter. And she did go right back into school teaching again, and she taught at 186th Street School in Gardena, California. So,
was her first job back at center school? That's kind of the story I remember. The first job back was center school for a little while.
Boy, that could be. For Pacific, I don't think she was teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grades.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have been Pacific, because I know you're right. She did have a lot of friends there. Because when I went there, Mary and my sister and I, we had it made, because we knew all the people and they all liked Mom and blah blah blah. So, but I can't remember when she wound up in Gardena. But she was there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, any favorite stories about your mom, whether at school, a holiday, or?
Favorite stories? Well, I guess she was always wonderful to my sister and I. She was a school teacher, so she had summers off. And so we would go camping, and every year we would go to Lake Tahoe and camp in a campground on the north shore of Lake Tahoe. And, she was great with us, and we had a ball, and I got to take a friend, and my sister got to take a friend.
All from the car?
Yeah.
So Grandma took 4 kids by herself camping?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was a trooper extraordinaire. Because, man, you can imagine, camping with, we had the Coleman stove, we had, that kind of stuff. Primitive to me, kinds of stuff going on. But she was great with it, and we always had fun, and it was just a super time. So, and then sometimes we would travel, and she'd take us, for the whole summer, and we'd go to Steele, North Dakota a lot, which was a relative's hotel in Steele, North Dakota. And that was a great memory of mine, was that Mom said, you do whatever you want to do. And so I had hamburgers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it was great. She didn't mind. And they didn't either. They kept making them for me, so it was great.
Do you recall if you stopped in Iowa to see relatives along the way to North Dakota?
Iowa?
Mm-hmm. Where the Dormans and some of the Gills were living?
No, we went to South Dakota sometimes because we had a cousin that worked on a parkland. He was a park ranger.
Oh, that was at Thomas All's house, I think.
Well, okay. You know more about it than I do. But he almost took us chasing buffalo in a Jeep, in one of the Rangers' Jeeps. So we had a ball. So those were the kinds of things that Mom got us involved in. So it was great.
I heard she burned your teddy bear.
Yeah, well, that was probably a mistake on her part. But,
All right. So there's
I had
nothing to
this
say
teddy
about it?
bear, and one of the camping trips we made to North Lake Tahoe, I had my teddy bear with me, and I was sleeping in the back of the car with my friend, I think it was Jamie Wilson, and we were sleeping in the back of the Ford, station wagon, and everybody else was in the tent, and I heard some noises and looked out, and here's a bear in our camping area, in our campsite, and he went, and I used to eat nothing but peanut butter and honey creamed sandwiches. Creamed honey sandwiches. That was my favorite thing in the world. So we always had this big tub of creamed honey.
Oh.
And this bear just went berserk with that tub of creamed honey. And he got it all over my teddy bear. Just must have rubbed it in it or something. And so we got up in the morning, and we knew that the bear had been there. And so we went to look around to see what damage had been done and stuff like that. And Mom kind of held my teddy bear up by his ear, and it was just covered in this, wiped out honey. So I was just horror stricken, with that thought. And she said, well, there's really only one thing that we can do, with it. And I said, yeah, what's that? Like, okay, let's take it, get it steam clean or something. And she said, no, we got to put it and got to burn it. So she threw it in a campfire that we had. And so that was traumatic. And I'm sure I forgave her at some point.
I'm not going camping next year.
Although we're not sure.
You're not sure. I couldn't really remember if I did or didn't.
Wow. What are some other memories? What are some memories of your mom's parents when they lived with you?
Not good. Those were not happy times in my book. I did not care for my grandmother. She was a mean, cranky, well, she was 90-something years old, and she was effectively brought down there to be the babysitter for my sister and I. And she was very, very hard of hearing. But it seems that every time you made a noise or did something, she'd come storming in and demand that we be quiet. You know, she couldn't hear anything that we were doing. So, I mean, how she needed quiet was beyond me. But she, was very, very mean to my sister and I. And it just was not a good situation. So,
Did you ever know her husband, your grandfather, John?
I met him. He didn't live with us. She was the one that lived with us. Like I say, to be our babysitter or housekeeper. And but I knew him, and he seemed like a fairly decent guy. No big deal. Either way, I can't remember too much about him because we only saw him, on holidays sometimes and stuff like that. So.
They had their own apartment in the area?
Oh, they lived in Pasadena somewhere.
Oh. Wow.
Near her son, my uncle Bob George, or Bob George, and so I spent some time with them, but not much.
What about the other grandparents, Oscar Gill and his wife, Christina? No, Emma.
Emma.
Did you ever meet them
Oh
or
yeah,
know them?
they came down,
Uh-huh.
and a couple of times when I was a kid. And she was a wonderful lady. I mean, she was a lot like Mom. And I remember her because she used to buy us stuff, because she never saw us. They're very infrequently did we see them. So it was kind of, whenever she came down, she'd always buy us something, like a skateboard or, something like that. So she was a very nice lady, and I really don't remember too much about him. I'm not sure how many times. She might have come down 3 times in my remembrance, and I don't think he came down but once, maybe. So.
All right. Can you recall some of the inventions when you were a child that were big at that time?
Color TV was probably the biggest thing that happened in my time frame. There was a lot of stuff about space travel and all of that stuff, which is incredible. So, but, just some of the, I'm not going to say toaster kinds of things, but those kinds of things were happening all the time. And
Microwaves, kind of? No?
I don't think microwaves.
It's
hit my
probably 70s
early.
or something.
Yeah, I would think I was a little too old when those things came around, when microwaves came around. But there were some things that, color TV was probably the big thing.
What are some schools that you attended? What was your favorite one?
Well, I went to, and I can't remember the exact sequence, I went to Grandview Grammar School. I went to Opal G. Robinson School. I went to Pacific School. That was, like after kindergarten kind of things. And then I went to Center, which was the 6th, 7th, and the 8th grade. And then I went from there to Maricosta High School.
For all 4 years?
Yeah. And which is where 2 of my grandkids go now. Or one of them's going now, and the other one did go. And so that was Costa, and I went to El Camino Junior College because a lot of my friends were going there, and I was working at the time in a supermarket, and I didn't want to give up that job, and because I was really enjoying that job. It was fun to have some money. And so I didn't go away to school. I went to El Camino, which was commutable, And then I went from there to California State University at Long Beach and graduated from there. Well, I graduated from El Camino with an associate arts degree in business. And I graduated from California State University with a business, Bachelor of Science degree in accounting. So, and then I did some school, some master's degree follow-up stuff for probably 2 semesters. And then I moved from LA, that was at SC. And then I went up to San Francisco. So with my company that I was working with. And so I never finished my master's degree. So, but other than that, I taught a billion classes when I was with Ernst in public accounting. I created some courses for our people. So I had a lot of continuing education, but nothing official.
All right. What activities did you participate in middle school and high school?
Well, in middle school and high school, the one thing, I had braces on my teeth. So I didn't play football, and plus at that time I was working at the store and I had a paper route, so I really couldn't participate in baseball, football, that kind of stuff. But I did participate in the band, and I played the trumpet in both middle school and in high school until I got kicked out. So that was a traumatizing experience. I was constantly being blamed for a lot of the talking and conversation that was going on. And I admit that a lot of it was my doing, but the one time that the band leader, who was a former Marine,
Oh boy.
commented or accused me of making noise and talking, and I got upset and I said, no, it wasn't me. And people around me were saying it wasn't him, it wasn't him, it wasn't him. But the instructor and I kind of exchanged a few words, and I got up, put my trumpet away in the locker room, and I walked out of the band, and I never went back.
Wow. What year was that? As a junior?
I think it was a junior, yeah, probably a junior year. So that was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever done. After all the money, my mom spent on lessons and stuff like that. So
And so never picked up the trumpet again after that? Wow.
yeah, spent a lot of money on trumpets. I had taken up the drums because I really enjoyed playing the drums, but I didn't play them in the band, and so I just, it was stupid just to walk out after investing that kind of time and energy and money into learning how to do something, and hoping that's one of the things that my grandkids and kids and their grandkids will remember. Don't waste a lot of time and money and energy doing something and then just throw it away.
I mean, was that an early childhood dream to be in a band?
No, I never had any recollection of desiring to be in the band. It just kind of happened in junior high, and I enjoyed it and had fun with it, and I was in a couple of marching bands in the area, and so I enjoyed it. I got to go some fun places and do some fun things, and so I just kept at it.
And did you say that you were working both at the grocery store and as a paper route person?
I had a paper route, since I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And I worked at the paper route until I was 15 and a half, which is what you had to be. You had to get a learner or a worker's permit. And so I got that work permit at the store. My sister knew somebody that worked at the Food Giant in Manhattan Beach. and she knew that they were going to be laying off some of the box boys in the store. And so I jumped up there on just Johnny on the spot, and I got the job as a box boy, and then kept that job all the way through high school, the rest of high school, and college. Yeah, so, and it was, and I think I even, when I took the job with Ernst, when I graduated from college, I took a job with Ernst in 1967, and I kept working at the store for another 2.5 years until one of the partners
Jeez.
at Ernst commented, you know, because he used to come into the store as a shopper. And so I'd see him all the time. And he said, you know, Bob, it's probably not a good idea for you to be working in the supermarket. You know, you get some of our clients that are paying you $100 and something an hour at the time to do their work, their audits and their accounting, and to come and see you in a supermarket. And I got the drift of that real quick, and so I finally quit that job. But
Wow.
yeah,
So you took that job somewhere in the middle of high school.
yep.
And did it-
I think my sophomore year.
So did it through graduation in '62, then did it through El Camino and through 2 more years of Long Beach,
Right.
and then 2 more years after that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I mean, it was very part-time. I mean,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
when I had the full-time job with Ernst, you know, because I mean, it was, you know, I mean, I worked, gosh, I don't know, probably, I worked on Saturdays and Sundays because that was big time, you know, in terms of payment, you know, paid, you know.
So you know that's how Liquor got his nickname, Liquor Store. They would have been calling you Grocery Store.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was fun. I loved that job. That was an incredible job. But, so that was it.
All right. What was your favorite subject in school and why?
Probably typing. And it was because the ratio of women, guys to girls in that class was phenomenal. I mean, there was probably 4 guys and 30 young girls, you know, and this was in high school, so a junior year, so what are you, 15, 16 years old. And so, but I loved that class, and plus I was really good at it, and you know, typing was something that you can always use, you know, for the rest of your life. And so I liked that class, and I liked my accounting, you know, my bookkeeping class. And
In high school.
in high school, yeah. In fact, that's what I always wanted to be, an insurance salesman. That was my
Life insurance?
life, well, any kind of insurance. I didn't care, life, whatever, it didn't matter. I hadn't thought about it, you know, enough. So, but I wanted to be an insurance salesman because, you know, my mother had a friend that was an insurance salesman, and he had a yacht, and he had a home in Huntington Harbor, and you know, so he was kind of a role model that I picked up on. So I said, well, I want to be an insurance salesman. And then I took this class in bookkeeping and really loved it. I thought it was fun. It was great. It's hard to picture bookkeeping being fun, but I really enjoyed that class. So I'd say those 2 classes were my favorites.
Segueing, what colleges did you apply to, and which colleges did you get into after high school?
Well, because I didn't want to go away to school, I didn't apply to any schools right out of high school.
Oh.
I just went to El Camino. I mean, that was an easy thing to do. I could still keep my job and keep the same number of hours that I was working. You know, so I mean, it was just a much easier situation to be in. I I had an opportunity to go to Berkeley with everything being paid for by
Oh, wow.
by one of our neighbors, and and I really did not want to quit my job. And one of the conditions that he put on that was that you can't work.
Right.
So because he wanted me to really focus, because Berkeley, it was a pretty expensive place and very, very hard to get in. And I'm sure I would have gotten in because, he would have seen to it, because his kids had gone there and so on. So, but in any event, I said no to that, and I just took the easy way out, the most comfortable way out, and that was just to go to El Camino. And then when I was...
Also, out of high school, you had the opportunity to go to Berkeley.
Yes, yeah. And so, after doing that, I applied. I looked around for the schools that had a couple of the adventures for me, or the interests to me, and that was I could still commute, so I could still work my job, and had a good accounting program, and that was the California State University at Long Beach. And so, boom, that's where I went, and I graduated from that. And all told, with El Camino and California State University at Long Beach, and my 40 hours a week working, I took 5 years to get through that program. So
Long Beach or
the whole program, both of the schools, junior college.
What
and
was
then-
the push to go to Long Beach? I know a lot of my friends, they don't get their associate before they transfer. Or
It had the best accounting program in my geographically desirable area. So, and that was perfect. It worked out really well, and I did well and had a good time. Still
Alright.
worked.
Right, good.
Yep.
Okay. Were you called in the draft for Vietnam?
Oh, I know. And no, I was not. I have never reported for a physical. I had a student deferment when those were okay. Then I got married and had a child, my son, and so I had a married with dependent deferment. Then they came up with the lottery, and my lottery number was 300 and something. So boom, I was never impacted by that at all, any way, shape, or form.
Any of your close friends impacted?
Oh yes, a lot of them were. I look back on a lot of my high school buddies that, I run into on Facebook now and stuff like that. And oh yeah, they all went to Nam.
Wow.
And I didn't lose any of them. I had one friend, Steve Heath, that went to Korea. He got nailed in going to Korea, and that kind of messed him up a lot. But other than that, none of my friends were killed, or otherwise. So, but I was fortunate that I didn't have to go in. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't think I would have enjoyed, being in the service.
Tell us about the time you got run over by a family friend.
Yeah, I'm coming home from a Cub Scout meeting, and I just ride my bike. This was a Schwinn, big, Schwinn bike, and I'm coming across, and I looked up the hill, and I saw a car coming, and I said, oh, I can beat that car, no problem. So I kept going across the street, and the next thing I remembered, I woke up underneath the car with a huge, found out, and my head was like about, I don't know, an inch from the back wheel. Because had that gone another inch further, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now. You wouldn't even be here now. So, so I had this big gaping hole in my leg. They had to go find my mom because my mom was downtown Manhattan Beach shopping. So, and they couldn't do anything for me until they contacted her and they got her approval and blah, blah, blah. So they tracked mom down, I don't know how, at some hardware store. And so she freaked out, came up, and it was, the days when they stuck this needle about that long all around this
Oh, for
opening.
Novocaine?
It was Novocaine. All around this opening that was probably about that big.
When your
And
leg,
about-
like on your.
Oh yeah, right on my leg.
Ooh.
And about that deep, and they stuck all these little holes in there, and then that's where they put the needle and the thread and brought it together. And I don't care. Novocaine apparently didn't work too well, in those days, because I can remember the agonizing pain that was. So that's just about it.
And it turns out that the lady driving the car was
Oh, she was the mother of one of my high school, one of my school friends. He wasn't in the Boy Scout or Cub Scouts with me, but he was one of our friends, and her and my mom knew each other very well. So
Sorry,
it
I
was
didn't see your son.
sad.
who? So she must have been just absolutely in shock herself, really. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about the time you got new surfboards from a car accident.
Well, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mike Lang and Jamie Wilson and I were we're on a surfing trip in my old car that I had, and we stuck the surfboards in through the trunk, took out the back seat and stuck the surfboards in the trunk. And we're coming home from the surfing trip, and we were gonna pull in to get a Coke or something at some fast food place. And this lady just crashed into the back of my car, and she had a little dog in her lap. And she said, my dog got in the way. And so that was great, lady, that's wonderful, So I had a little cut on my finger, and all of our surfboards kind of got banged up a little bit. And so we started thinking about, if we could probably get new surfboards, out of this, if we had a little more damage. So we took the surfboards up to my sun porch at Mom's house. We opened up the window and dropped them out the window onto the
Carried
patio.
it to carry the surfboards to the top and stuff.
Well, it wasn't the roof, but I mean, it was pretty high up. And we dropped them onto the patio, and a couple times it kind of banged them up a little bit. And so we got new surfboards. And so
But it turned out they never even checked
they
them.
never even looked at them. They never did anything. So we could have gotten away. And I don't mean to make it
There's a
sound
little
like we
make-
were crooks, but we tried to take advantage of the system.
And Spencer, keep in mind when we're talking about these surfboards from 1960s,
They're
we're
very-
talking about from here to the ceiling. It would probably bang into the ceiling if you stood it upright. They're 10 feet long.
Well, these were
boards.
our shorter ones. These were 8
Oh.
foot 10.
Oh,
or
you
something.
had shorter boards?
Gosh, yeah.
Oh, we don't have that question on the sheet.
More control, the smaller it is. Tell us about your room that was the supposed local hangout for poker games.
Yeah, my room was kind of the collection point for a lot of poker games. A lot of my friends. Our house, because Mom was pretty lenient with us, and so we always would come and stay and visit my house, and in my room, we played poker pretty much all the time. We played a lot of poker in that room, and it was good fun, good clean fun, even though we were smoking. But,
And drinking, right?
Not too much drinking, not at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, so we weren't drinking that much, but we were smoking and getting crazy and having some fun. But yeah, now my room was the gathering place for a lot of my friends.
All right. Tell me about the beach that you used to hang out on.
Well, we started this one beach, this close group of friends started this one surfing beach, 34th Street in Hermosa Beach. And we just started the beach. It was ours. We were the only ones that were allowed on it, kind of like thing. And so we started 34th Street, and there was, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 of us that started that beach. And a lot of fun, a lot of good times. And then we moved, because some of our other friends had gone down to Longfellow. And so we went down to Longfellow and kind of joined that group. And it was a great beach, good beach. I went there a number of times after, graduated too. So, and always took the kids down there, and because it was a friendly beach, nice beach, clean beach, so, and the surf was better there. So that's pretty much the story.
All right. Pretty cool.
Tell us about your friendship with Uncle Mike Lang.
Yeah, Mike Lang was he was a year behind me in school, and in high school, and that was the group that I was mostly with in high school, was the year behind me, because that was where most of my friends were. I was a year younger than most of the kids in my class, because my mom pulled some strings to get me into school when I was younger than you were supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So my tendency, my gravity was towards the kids behind me, because they were all my age, and we all hang out, and my neighbors were several of them. So we and Mike was one of those. He was a character, and he had this Hillman. I can't remember the year of this Hillman. It was a little blue car, and he would come over to my house almost every morning in the summers and knock on my door, and he'd say, "Let's go, let's go surfing." And I said, I'd say, "Mike, it's really early." I said, "You go down, take a look, and if there are some waves worth riding, you come back and get me, and then we'll go." And sometimes he came back, and sometimes he didn't. And so he and I were just very close friends. We went into, his brother was a high school teacher. I mean, not then, but he was he was a few years older than we were, and he was really a neat guy. And so he was lifting weights in their garage. And so Mike and I got into it too, with him, with his brother, Elroy. And so, Mike and I were just very, very close. I introduced him to my sister-in-law, and they ultimately got married and had a couple of kids. And so Mike and I have just been good friends for a long, long time.
All right. I hear you almost caught on fire while camping. Tell us about that.
Do I have to? I'm with Mike and Jamie, and we are up at one of our favorite campgrounds, Lake Cachuma. And we used to go up there and, and just hang out and drink beer and have fun and play in the water and stuff. And so we were drinking beer one night, and we started a campfire, and which we did all the time. And we had a little bottle, a plastic bottle full of white gas. And it was always fun to throw a little bit of white gas on a fire to watch the flame jump up and, you know, be really big and scary. So I did that. And the mouth of the white gas bottle caught on fire. And Jamie and Mike took off running. And I was sitting there holding this plastic bottle not full, but with white gas in it, with the mouth on fire. And I tried to blow it out. And Jamie and Mike were freaking out. And so I kept blowing on it and I got it out. But when I thought about it afterwards, I mean, obviously that thing could have just blown up and I would have burned up and, you know, again, none of you would have been here. So,
And just so you know, that scene is on video somewhere. We've got that. That was all being filmed by somebody.
you know, I think JD was filming it. I don't know.
So yeah, that's we can watch that live someday.
Yeah, that was funny. It was very stupid, but it was funny.
It's a little hot, yeah. Hey, can you give us, where did you work during school and what did you do there? Or any of your friends, Mike, Jamie, did they work with you during school?
No, Jamie, no, nobody. I was the only one that got this insider information about the fact that they were going to be firing a bunch of guys from the supermarket. So I was very fortunate. And I got up there and and this person that was working there, this friend of my sister's, Loretta Ronk, introduced me to the managers and stuff like that. And so I hit it off with them really well. And so I got the job as a box boy. And a box boy is the one that sits there and packs into bags all the groceries that the checker people check out and shove down at you, and you pack it as fast as you can and so on. And so then I did that for several years and I was really good. I was very careful, very helpful. The customers loved me. And so I got promoted to clerk. And the clerk is one of the ones that does the checking, checks out the groceries and stocks shelves and doing all that kind of stuff. So that's primarily what I wound up doing there. I was only a box boy, I think, for a couple of years. And then I wound up being a clerk because I tried really hard, to do as best I could at the box boy job, so that I would be, promoted as soon as I possibly could to a clerk. So.
And it was your whole time in the grocery business was at Food Giant?
Yes.
I always get confused with the Food King thing. Was that another store altogether?
That was another store altogether.
And you never worked there?
Actually, I think the Food Giant became Food King after I had left. That could be where you're thinking.
All right.
But I worked at Food Giant.
All right. Very good.
All right, and tell us about your first cars. Like, what were they, and what was your favorite?
Your first car. I bought a 1950 Chevrolet for $150, and it was a column shift, and it, you probably don't even know what a 1950 Chevrolet looks like, because there's probably not a whole bunch of them left out there. But I mean, it was just a, useless car, but it worked, and I had it. And then I bought I bought from a friend of mine who I still communicate with on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I bought this 1950 Ford convertible with a 1955 Chevy engine in it. And that piece of crap cost me unbelievable hours, of my Friday nights and Saturday nights. I had dates that I used to go out on, and they would sit with me under the car and hand me tools when I was fixing this hideous vehicle. The guy who put the engine in there, he put the engine and the transmission, clutch mount. He held those two things together, which are, the engine. I mean, hell is almost the whole weight of the car, and then the bell housing and all the drive stuff it was very heavy, and he held it together with C clamps. C clamps are those little clamps. They look like a C, and you squeeze them down and you squeeze them up, with twisting them. And that's what he had as motor mounts for this car. And I didn't look at that when I bought the thing, I mean, it was just, oh God, a 50 Ford with a 55 Chevy engine, wow! So I bought that thing, and that's another lesson, in life is never buy a used car. Never buy it unless you have somebody that knows something about them. Take a look at it, because you could lose. If I had the money that I put into clutches and transmissions and all kinds of stuff into that piece of crap car, I'd be a multi-millionaire now. If I'd invested it in anything, So anyway, but those were two of my fun cars, and then I had, what was the next car? Oh, I bought a Sunbeam Alpine. A Sunbeam Alpine is a little big sports car, and I had a ball with that. That thing was really fun. I had a 56 Chevrolet, that I bought, two-tone green. In fact, that's the one that's in the picture, on birthday card and all that kind of stuff. And that was a great car. That was just a super car. I put a floor shift in that, so that was fun. It was an automatic, but it was really a beautiful car. I bought aluminum, reverse chrome rims, and all kinds of stuff. Two of them on that car. Then I got the Sunbeam Alpine. Then I got a Chevrolet Chevrolet Chevelle, and that was probably one of my all-time favorite cars at the time. And I got that right when I got married the first time, and that was a great car, and I love that one. And then I can't even remember how many cars I had, but my favorite ones were a Jaguar XF, the first year they came out, which was, I can't even remember what year it was now. It was back in the early 2000s. So I love that car. And now I have a Lexus NX 300, which is a very, very comfortable car, very nice. And we just got, Dee Audi X5, which is a gorgeous vehicle. So I've had a lot of cars.
just a few.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which question are we doing this one?
Yeah, I could do it for you. I could be Jay now.
Okay. What question do you?
We're on.
That one?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
that's what I
interested.
figured. Okay. When did you know you wanted to study accounting?
When I took the bookkeeping class in high school, I really enjoyed it, thought it was fun, thought it was exciting. Well, exciting, I could be pushing it. But, it was interesting. It was something that I was able to do well. And so I enjoyed it. So that was it. High school is what kicked it off. And then I went on, through college and got my degree.
And it wasn't like you went to El Camino and then you realized you wanted to switch majors? Or did you figure it out right there and then you took the class and you're like, this is more interesting than I thought it could be?
Well, like I said, I wanted to be an insurance salesman. I always wanted to be an insurance salesman. And so that was a business focus. And so I always had a business, mindset about what I was going to do. And so the bookkeeping class kind of took me away from the insurance sales. And then the more I got into it, the more I liked it, so I focused on it and just kind of stayed with it and really focused on accounting as what I was going to do. So.
All right.
What were some of your friends' majors? Or some popular majors at the time? At El Camino or Long Beach?
Well, a couple of my real close friends that I went all the way through those years with went for a teaching credential. And so they were history and something else. I can't remember what the other guy was into, but they were into teaching and stuff like that. Yeah, and business, I think, was really the main focus of a lot of guys, a lot of friends, what they looked at to do. So.
All right.
Oh yeah. Do you describe your first years at Ernst & Ernst as an accountant?
Well, you're a rookie, you're a brand new guy, and you're trying to understand how this stuff works. You've got your college degree in your pocket. You've got the knowledge that you gained when you were studying that. And so you try to apply what you know is the way to do it into a real life situation. And so you're learning constantly. And I had an opportunity to advance pretty quickly. And I mean, I really worked hard at it. Just as an example, I went in my first day on the job. There were 21 of us that had been hired. And we all started on the same day. And we're all sitting in this big room. And in walks this guy. None of us knew who he was. And he walks in and says, "I need somebody to give me a hand." And I'm sitting right by the door. So I said, I'll go. So boom, I jump up, I walk out there, and he hands me this schedule, this several page schedule, and says, "I need you to foot this for me." And I looked at him like, "You want me to do what?" He says, "I want you to foot this." I'd love to do it for you. You want to tell me what you want me to do? I want you to foot this. Add up all of these numbers and tell me if that number that they have down at the bottom is right or wrong. Oh, so I sat there, and I'm tapping away on this adding machine. He kept walking in and going, "You done?" "Well, no. And so I'm still tapping away. Finally, I got it all done, gave it to him. I went home that night, and I went by one of those little rental places, business machine rental places. I rented an adding machine, and I stayed up for like 5 or 6 hours. And I was adding adding phone books, whatever I could use to just, put my practice. And I went in the next day and said, "Bring it on, I'm ready. Ask me to foot anything." I was the fastest guy, no doubt I was going to be the fastest guy in that room. They didn't ask me. But anyway, that is the kind of an indicator about, my interest in advancing. And so I became the youngest manager that Ernst had ever made. And I was pretty proud of that. And so it was a great job. And my first year was just, a good first year. I just had a good time. And I met my very dearest friend in that first year. And because one of the things that the new rookie accountants got to do was what they call proofreading.
Mhm.
And when you proofread, one guy reads to another guy who's looking at this document that was typed. And you read it, numbers and everything, and the other guy looks at it to make sure that it says what he just said, And so Ron Eisenberg he started on the exact same day that I did, and he and I were doing proofreading together a lot, and we had so much fun doing that. We would sit there and karate chop our pencils, and we just had a ball. So that was a good thing about my first year. I didn't get to do that after my first year, but so that was fun too.
Were there a lot of transfers in that job to get a promotion, or they just transferred people around for more experience, or why did we move so much?
Why did we lose?
Move.
Well,
Location-wise, or?
Yeah.
well, I went from the LA office to the San Francisco office, from the San Francisco office to the national office in Cleveland, Ohio, from the national office in Cleveland, Ohio, back to LA, back to San Francisco, and then transferred from San Francisco to Seattle with the same company. So they put people where they needed them and where they thought they could do the most, benefit for the company, for the firm, in different positions at different locations. And so, that's what they did. I mean, and I guess that is why we moved. I mean, they wanted me to go to San Francisco, they wanted me to go to Cleveland, they wanted me to go to LA, they wanted me to go to San Francisco, and they wanted me to go to Seattle.
I see.
So I went.
All right. Tell us about your favorite job and then your least favorite job. And then maybe add in why. That could be helpful.
Well, I pretty much just said that Ernst was one of my favorite jobs, but when I look back and I think about my favorite job, I think it was being the chief financial officer for Health East Care System in St. Paul, Minnesota. That was my last job. I was in that position for, I guess, 11 years, and it was very, very satisfying, very, very fun and enjoyable, and worked with a full group of really special people, really neat people, and I stay in touch with quite a few of them at this time. I go every year, Dee and I go down to our Pelican Hill Resort, which is in Newport Beach, to be with my old boss and his wife. So it's that kind of relationship that I built there that I never had in any other job. So I think that made it, very special. And my worst job was this company called KPMG, which was in public accounting, and I didn't enjoy it. I never had a fun day there the whole time I was there. So that would be my least favorite.
How many homes have you lived in?
Way too many.
And what was your favorite and least favorite?
I don't even think I could count. I should have counted before this discussion. But I guess I lived in Manhattan Beach. I lived in Redondo Beach. I lived in San Francisco. King James, where was that?
That was Westlake.
Was it Westlake or
Mhm.
Rocky River?
Nope, that was Westlake.
Westlake, okay. So Westlake, Ohio, and Then I lived back in Manhattan Beach again. Then I lived back in San Francisco. Oh, I forgot.
Sausalito?
I forgot San Rafael, Marinwood. I lived there before I went to Cleveland. And then came back to LA in Manhattan Beach, went back up to Northern California in Sausalito, and then Sausalito went to Bellevue, Washington. Bellevue, Washington, back to San Francisco. Bellevue, Washington to Glendale, California.
No to San Juan. San Juan Capistrano.
Oh yeah, San Juan Capistrano first. Then I went back up to the Bay Area and lived several places up there.
Redwood City and Danville.
Yeah, wound up in Danville. Then I came back to Glendale and Glendale, California, and then Glendale, California to
St. Elmo.
yeah, Lake Elmo,
Lake Elmo.
Washington, Lake Elmo, Minnesota, and then Lake Elmo, Minnesota to Woodbury, Minnesota, Woodbury, Minnesota, back to here, Palm Springs, California.
So something like how many?
14.
14?
Oh yeah.
So your second job was moving.
I felt like
Selling
that.
houses.
Yeah.
What do you got,
Least
Jay?
favorite, best favorite, most favorite. I'd say that my favorite house was Lake Elmo, Minnesota. It was on 3 acres of land. It was a beautiful spot, beautiful location. You were there, and Tiffany, you were there, and so you saw the house, and it was a gorgeous property and a gorgeous home. So I'd say that was probably my favorite because it was just so perfect. And even though the weather sucked, in Minnesota, it was still a really great house. And
Are
then,
you a fan of blizzards and staying inside the house for
yeah.
some?
No, I've never done any work on a house at all. That's why God invented laborers, is to do that stuff. They're good at it. I don't know how to do that stuff, so I never even tried to.
Like clearing driveways, like.
I laid some tile in a house in Marinwood. I laid some tile in an entryway, and I did some wallpaper. That was it. I just said that, because I didn't think I did a good job, and I didn't like it, and it was, not fun. So I never did it.
All right, next question. An advice on how to have a happy marriage for 37 years with Leanne.
Well, I mean, obviously you have to hit it off to begin with, and that's of course one of my favorite stories. But you guys have all heard that one.
Say it again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was out with a couple of my clients at a restaurant, and we were, having some dinner and some fun. They were both married, and I was single. And in walks this girl with long blonde hair almost down to her waist, wearing this white outfit. She was gorgeous tan, and she was with another couple. She was with a guy and a girl. And I said to my buddies, I said, hey, look, I got to go meet that girl. And so they said, well, God, what if she's with the guy? And I said, well, then kind of come pull me out of here then. And so I went over and I walked up to the table and I looked at the big guy and I said, excuse me, are you with her or her? And this guy looked at me, and I'm wearing a suit, and I'm, not a derelict guy. And he looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And I repeated it, and he said, well, I'm with her. We just got married, we're out there on our honeymoon. I said, oh, wonderful. So I started talking to Dee. Yeah, that's good for you. Very happy.
Congratulations. So, hello.
And so I started talking to her, and she wouldn't give me her home phone number, so I said, okay, fine, heck with you. And I walked out, and on the way home, we needed one more stop for one more cocktail, because we didn't have enough yet. And so we spotted this disco that had opened. And none of us, the three of us, had never been there before. And so we went in. 15 minutes later, Deanne walks in with that couple. And I said, that's it. You know, it's fate. And so I was dancing with her. I interrupted her and this little dinky baseball player. And so I interrupted them and was dancing with her. And then she finally gave me her home phone number. And so we started going out, and 3 years later we got married. So I guess you gotta hit it off. You gotta be nice, although she would say there's been a number of times when I wasn't nice. And, but you know, you just have to learn to go with the flow and do what's right, and don't do anything stupid. And, you know, and things will work out if they're meant to be. And at the same time, if they're not, you can't, you know, hang on to it. So you just got to do what's right and always be thinking about what's best for both of you, and you know, just do good.
What do you want your grandkids to remember about you, or what are some ways you want them to perceive you?
Well, I would hope that they will always, absolutely no doubts about it, think that I was extremely honest and loyal and faithful and truthful, and you know, just did some good things in my life that are things that would be role models for them. You know, I would like them to be thinking of me as a good role model for them, and pick up on some of the good things that I do, and forgive those those bad things that I do. So you know, that's pretty much it. I think, you know, just wanting you to trust me, to have faith in what I've said, to think back sometimes when you're in a certain circumstance and go, you know, I bet Grandpa would have done that, you know, that kind of thing.
All right. What are your favorite memories with your kids and your grandkids?
Well, I guess all the great times that we've had, you know, the great times that we've had out here, all the pictures that we have of all of us out in the pool, and you know, that kind of stuff, that's always special. And all the holidays that we've had a chance to spend together, you know, have been special. You know, great memories and great fun. Watching you kids grow up, you know, I mean, that's been fabulous and fun and exciting, and you know, just seeing how well you've all turned out. You know, I mean, I don't, you know, I can't think of too many things that I'm disappointed in that any of you kids have done, and or my kids for that matter. And so I, you know, would hope that that's how it stays in your thoughts.
Well, I think our family has been very blessed, and we certainly thank you for all that you've done for all of us. So I think that kind of wraps it up. Any further thoughts? All right, good job, Grandpa.
Okie doke.